off with a bang. As PBA legend Pete Weber tries to make it back to the finals of the PBA World Championship here, the first major of the season. The 49-year-old has his work cut out for him as he faces a trio of hard-throwing young guns that includes Sean Rash, the #1 overall seed in this year's World Championship. Can PDW survive and continue his quest for another major? Find out next. Happy New Year from Las Vegas, and glad you're ringing in 2012 with the PBA. Today will determine the third of 4 finalists for the season's first major, the PBA World Championship. Making his first career TV appearance, the man who runs the show with his #10 jersey, Nathan Bohr.
He is a 3-time All-American from Wichita State.
The lefty from Cheektowaga, New York. Say hello to Ryan Ciminelli.
Ryan is the only southpaw to make it to the top 16 here at the World Championship.
He's won this title twice. The legendary PDW, Pete Weber.
Simply put, Rob, one of the best ever.
And your #1 overall seed, Sean Rash.
Making his second telecast here at the WSOB. Get used to seeing a lot of this man.
Gonna take a look at the rules again. The eliminator format. All 4 guys bowling. Low score hits the showers. Match #2. The remaining 3, same deal. And only one will advance to the finals. A little bit earlier, Sean Rash handing over a jersey to 8-year-old Dan McCarty, who suffers from brittle bone disease. The two of them united throughout the opening ball. Yeah, there you go, Randy getting involved, and not bad. I was kind of hoping for 10 in the pit, Randy, but still good assistance. And Dan McCarty, part of the Las Vegas chapter of Best Buddies. He and his family had a limo ride here. They're going to hang out here. I mean, what a seat he's got. I mean, he has a better view than we do.
Yes, he does.
Rob Stone, Randy Peterson, and last year's PBA World Champion Chris Barnes with you. Today's oil pattern, the same as last week. It's the Scorpion, picked by the highest seed bowling today, and the #1 overall seed in the World Championship, Sean Rash. But the first man to throw a ball in this new year, Pete Weber. 2-8, double wood left by PD Dub, and Weber, the elder statesman here in this quartet of players. The next oldest player to Pete, 31-year-old Nathan Bohr, who was born in 1980, guys. The same year Pete Weber was named PBA Rookie of the Year.
I've been bowling all my life. I didn't go to college because I wanted to be a professional bowler, so I came straight out of high school to the tour, and I've been bowling. This is my 32nd year, and it means everything in the world to me. I can't think of a other life that I'd rather have than being a professional bowler.
Pete, not exactly a spring chicken anymore at age 49, but he still has game.
I'm not going to say that to his face, I'll tell you that. Rash on the right. Oh, great kick of the 10.
Hey, Chris, how many times have you started a match with a pocket 7-10? It's kind of like getting kicked right in the teeth, isn't it?
I tend to wait to like the 5th or 6th frame, actually.
Oh, when you really need it?
Yeah.
Nice.
My job is creating opportunity where there is none. So.
Weber takes care of the spare. I made a spare. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I always have a little extra hop in my step when PDW is on the show. I get downright excited.
I know you do.
I just love that guy. I love his personality. I love everything he brings to life in bowling. Here is Nathan Bohr, a native of Wichita, Kansas. Got a couple shockers on the show here, Bohr and Rash.
Interesting strategy. He's going to play out.
That is way out. And it works.
Barnesy, do you like that strategy?
You know, I don't mind it for this very reason. It's his first show. He's got 2 power guys playing the lanes inside of him. I don't think he's as good as either one of them from in there. I think this gives him his best chance to win. Maybe not his best chance to advance, though. They could go either way in a hurry on him.
That was Ryan Ciminelli, the lefty. An opening strike. Lives in Cheektowaga, just outside of Buffalo. Great bowling community in Cheektowaga and the entire Buffalo area. Rash on the left. A nice little pace going here. So Rash spare strike. Pete Weber, 8 spare in the first. Here he is in the second. Yeah! He's got the hair slicked back.
Got the shades.
Digging the shades, got the glove, the look. It was funny, I was talking to Pete the other day, and he said, you know, I'm tired of wearing this black hat. I'm tired of being the bad guy in the PBA. He said, let Rash have it. It's time for me to be the nice guy and be embraced and loved. I tell you what, a lot of people love Pete Weber and what he does. Ryan Ciminelli's reaction.
Well, you either love him or you hate him, but you certainly love watching him.
That's a fact. Few people more fun to watch than him.
Like he set that one a little short, caused it to kind of hook early on him.
Wiggle there.
Yeah, it's just touchy out there, and it's going to be hard to control that, along with all the nerves he's going to have going on with his first show.
Ciminelli strikes spare, and getting back to Bohr, guys, it's his first show here, but what is Nathan's first love? Turns out it's meteorology.
It's just something that's always fascinated me. Even the last couple of years, I've contemplated going back to school and working towards that goal. But I'm trying to remember when it was. I was real young, standing outside of my house in Austin with my parents, and a tornado or a funnel cloud went right over the top of our house. And that's the only thing I can point to that would say that's where that fascination would have begun.
Bohr picks up the spare, and the Storm staffer is so fascinated with weather and tornadoes that he and his mom are planning to do, guys, a little storm chasing a la Twister in the spring. Here's Weber starting the third, working on a double.
He still has great touch. You know, he's always had that great release, and undoubtedly probably one of the best physical games ever.
Spare strike for Rash. Back-to-back jacks for Sean Rash.
Well, I really like his look on this pair, too. There's not anybody with enough rev rate to chase him off that spot. If he can follow himself all the way through, he's almost got the same advantage Ciminelli does.
Hey, he selected the pattern.
Didn't work out very well for Smallwood last week.
Now, last week, Smallwood picked the same exact pattern and was eliminated in the first game. But it wasn't because he didn't bowl well.
Exactly. That's a great point, because a couple of shots, both of them probably should have been 4 pins. They both turned into 4 9s, and what looked like a pretty easy first game for him turned into a train wreck.
Everybody striking out in the third. Weber and Rash tied for the lead. Low man out. The conclusion of match number 1. When this New Year's Day version of the PBA returns to Vegas.
The PBA World Championship is brought to you by Budweiser. Back to the Petraglia division of the PBA World Championship here at South Point Casino and Exhibition Hall in Las Vegas. Let's recap who's made it into our January 15th World Championship final so far. Week 1, the Carter division, captured by Oscar Palermo. The number 5 overall seed survived against Jack Jurek, Stuart Williams, and Dom Barrett. Week 2 is the Hardwick division, where Ryan Schaefer came out on top as the number 14 seed. He knocked off Ildemaro Ruiz, Andres Gomez, and the number 2 overall seed, Tom Smallwood. So those two have moved on to the World Championship final in 2 weeks, and that means There's 2 spots remain. One to be filled by today's Petraglia division winner and next week's survivor in the Albee division, which just so happens to feature number 3 overall seed, Jason Belmonte, the number 1 seed here at the World Championships. Yeah, you're looking at him. That guy, Sean Rash, the man who absolutely dominated the qualifying rounds here. Rash with the 4-bagger. Much to the delight of that little guy, Dan McCarty. Here's Sean with more on his style.
Well, I'm aggressive. I mean, it's an individual sport, and the only person that cares about you up there is your family. You know, great examples when Pete and I bowl against each other or with each other is, you know, we're there for ourselves. You know, you can't focus on them, and you can't worry about what they do, and you know, you want to see others succeed, but you want to see them finish a spot below you every day.
Weber trying to keep it all even with Rash here in the 4th. D-Dub, another strike.
This drift's just a pinch high, but all 10 go down, and sometimes it's not how, it's how many.
Ciminelli on the left lane. He went 9 spare there last time. Blows up the rack here.
We're having a strike fest, gentlemen.
Just about as opposite Pete as you can get. Pete at 16.8 miles an hour. Ryan Ciminelli, 21.6.
Yeah, he just rears back and fires. Hit it as hard as you can and throw it hard.
2 ways to be a star on tour. Do everything extremely well, or do one thing better than everyone else. He's starting to become real good at that thing.
Half the ball was in the right gutter, Rob Stone.
I mean, he is dancing with the devil.
Dude, this is not a bad play by him. This is out to the first board, literally, and we've seen no one play out there. Maybe the half.
The first 1/8 of the board.
Yeah, not a lot of margin for error to the right.
Onions. Looking for 4 in a row. Come on, Pete. Give it to me. Yeah! Hellbone! Woo! I am now going to retire from the PBA booth.
Rob has just left the booth. It's up to you and I, Chris.
Sean Rash with a strike of his own. And you wonder why I love Pete Weber so much.
You guys have this thing going on.
Oh my gosh, do we? It is unbelievable.
It's like this man love, this secret connection.
It's a little taboo-ish, I'll admit.
Yeah.
Bohr.
One thing I like about what Nathan's doing, though, is he's playing to his strengths. He's the best straight player on this, out of this group.
I mean,
But I don't think it's the easiest thing to do.
He has me holding his breath every time he releases that shot. I mean, that is...
We just don't see that a lot anymore.
No, no.
You know, seems like every telecast they start.
Well, Ciminelli's just destroying racks.
They start a little bit straighter around second arrow, in between second and third arrow, and by the last match, they're better kept. Rarely do we see players playing outside first arrow, and it's all to do with the oil patterns that are laid down.
Well, I thought up in the bowling center itself, it had a lot to do with it's a high lineage center. South Point does a ton of leagues in open play. It's tough to be right at that. Here, though, it's a fresh surface.
Through 5, guys, we have yet to see an open frame. Not even anything close. We haven't even seen a split. Rash, Weber on top, Ciminelli, and then Bohr. There's Weber looking for 5 in a row as we begin the 6th.
Yeah, it was. Boy, he hit the foul line so solid on that shot.
He's really starting to dial in.
Let's see if he can maintain it.
5 in a row for Rash. 2012 is getting off to a nice start in PBA lands.
Good move. You pull a lot with Sean Rash. How quickly do the lanes transition when crossing with him?
Pretty fast. He likes to use a little surface. He uses a ton of speed and that 500 plus RPM rev rate. Moves the lanes. He'll probably have to move at least a couple during this game, maybe 3. And just off his own ball.
Strike there for Bohr.
Slow, but had a long time to recover.
So, Chris, when you're behind Sean Rash, how often do you make adjustments? How soon do you move?
If I go to his pair from the very first frame, I'll move in 2, 3, maybe 4 boards.
In this environment here, you're bowling with him. How often do you move?
Probably every other frame I move a half.
Every other frame you move a half a board with your feet?
With my feet.
Okay.
And then half of that with my eyes. So when I get to 1, then I probably parallel it in at least a half, maybe a full board.
Every other frame you're moving?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rash looking for 6 straight.
And that's something that's really improved in Sean's game is how well he hits the line now. He used to have a 4-step approach, but used to call it a 5 because of the step he took after he threw it. Now he hits it solid, and he has been on it throughout this World Series.
Weber also looking for a 6-pack here.
Got a hook.
Pete and Sean are setting the tone here. Ciminelli looking for 5 strikes in a row. He's destroying pins.
Yeah, I'm afraid, although Nathan played to his strengths a little bit by not playing where everybody else is, he's got a distinct disadvantage with how much room he has to miss on the lane.
He doesn't have the same firepower and doesn't look like he can string the amount of strikes necessary playing that part of the lane.
There's Nathan's family in attendance. Mike and Cindy.
He's fighting, though. He's working hard.
He is, and at 21 pins behind Ciminelli, he's just 1 hit away from being in this match.
So Bohr trails Ciminelli by 21. The top 3 will move on to match number 2. Rash and Weber going back-to-back with their strikes. PD Dub looking for 7 in a row as we begin the 8th.
It's fun to watch.
Got away with just a little small error there. He just didn't flow quite as well as the last couple.
You didn't see the
He saved it.
You didn't see the PDW traditional open hand follow through. His hand was a little closed on that shot.
Yeah, I thought so, but that's part of what makes him a great player too. He has such great touch that he took a shot that most people might have 210'd and turned into a strike.
Come on! That pin came from Reno trying to knock it down.
Well, and that wasn't Sean's best effort either. I've talked about how good he's been hitting the line. He came off of that one a little bit, got it inside a target, almost held.
I think in the past we've seen with Sean, he tends to get a little overexcited, a little overamped, and then he starts throwing, starts rushing shots and throwing.
You got to think this 4-man format at the outset, a nice way to kind of calm him down because he has the time. He's forced to sit and relax. Look at this. I mean, just look how close he is to dropping this in the gutter.
That's really good stuff.
Ciminelli
baby.
Just methodically knocking them down.
And for those folks at home watching, Chris and I both invite you to play the 1-2-3 board at your leisure and see how good you are at it.
And you can try that on this exact oil pattern at any bowling center that offers PBA Experience Leagues.
I think if Sean has one bugaboo, he tends to drop it into his swing a little earlier. He gets ramped up, drops it in, chases after it, and then it just gets going so quick that it's hard for him to catch it enough to make up for the extra speed.
Pete Weber opened this one up with an 8 spare. Since then, 7 consecutive strikes, looking for 8 in a row. The Dick Van Patten 8 is enough.
Oh, no. Man, are you pulling straws now, brother. I'll tell you what, we have the possibility of Nathan Bohr striking out and shooting 259.
And won't even be close to being enough.
And not making it.
It's Ciminelli. Yep, another one. He's a machine. The stormtrooper. Step up, throw strike. Step up, throw strike.
The thing about guys that go all in every shot, it makes them a little bit pressure proof. You can't throw it harder. You can't grab it more.
Now, pressure's on Nathan Bohr right now. He's got 3 in a row. Needs a 4-bagger here just to continue to try and stay within reach of these big guns here today.
Carry, yeah.
He got that in, and it laid there and went dead flush. So he's got a little bit of room out there. He's also throwing it really well.
Actually, up by the Cats, he's playing that lane in a couple of boards from the right lane where he's actually trying to get it out to about the second board.
Nathan's still 10 out of that 3rd spot. Top 3 and move on.
Weber needs a mark to advance.
That's right here. 9 in a row for PD Dub.
Important shot for Sean.
If he doesn't strike on this ball, he could be eliminated.
We see this a lot from Sean. Things aren't just right. And that head maybe starts getting a little chatty inside.
Right.
Time to pull out.
The demons start creeping up. If he goes spare strike, he shoots 249. Bohr can shoot 259.
His new wife, Sarah, sitting alongside Sean's dad, Gene.
Weber already securing a berth in the next match.
Nice game for the old guy. 279 action, Rob.
Sean's pace on that first shot in the 10th was excellent. Didn't get in front of himself. See if he can do it one more time to advance.
Hands went to the head immediately.
Of course, the ball's got to hit back here.
Match 1 in the books for Pete Weber.
Thank you. Come on out.
279. Rash takes care of the spare.
257 for Rash. Bohr can strike out for 259. Ciminelli can go 9 spare 9 for 258.
Holy cow.
How'd you bowl? Shot 257. Oh, that's great. Nope, I got knocked out.
Bohr must strike or he's done.
Read it a lot. Here. Yeah, come on. Oh, you're kidding me.
On your first show in the 10th frame, to get it to the first board when you need it most.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
It's a great shot.
Ciminelli moves on. Rash will move on. Nathan Bohr, unfortunately, will not.
2012 treating PB Dub very well so far. 9 straight strikes for the Hall of Famer and a little shout out to make my year. Match number 2 when we return.
Has lost one member. 236, usually good enough to advance. Not with the strike power we have on display today. Pete Weber hasn't won since April 4th of 2010. Only made one TV appearance last season. Randy, what did you just see in that last match that has you excited about PD Dub?
Well, he was able to be himself. He likes to move in a little bit and kind of float it to the right with that nice, beautiful release and soft touch. But I think the most important thing was that he stayed ahead of the transition created by Sean Rash. Or at least it appeared that he did that. I mean, he flushed just about every shot. He shot 279. He had the highest game. And he was never in trouble. You never saw a moment where it looked like he didn't make the adjustment at the right time.
So he dominated the right side. On the left side of the lane, how about Ryan Ciminelli, by the way?
Well, this kid's playing his A game. He's rocking, firing. He's throwing hard. He's rocking at the gutter. And he's got some friction built out there now. When you throw it that hard all the time, I think you're a little bit pressure-proof. I think he's primed and ready to go after another chance to advance today.
He dropped a 267, 9 strikes, including 8 in a row at one point. Sean Rash will lead us off here in match number 2. A very quiet 257, if that's even possible. So much noise created by Weber and Ciminelli. Rash kind of backed in there when Bohr couldn't close out the deal, and Sean starts strong.
Yeah, he started strong the last game and lost it coming in and really ran the risk of not making it to this next game. If Nathan Bohr shows up in the 10th frame, and if he would have thrown that double and gotten 9, Sean Rash would have been eliminated. Uh-oh. Don't get on his bad side.
_125th career TV appearance for Pete Weber.
Is that a typo?
Not at all. 35 career titles. Only 2 have won more.
8 majors. That's a lot.
Looking for number 9.
You know, we talked about it before. As long as he can stay ahead of the transition or the lane, or the oil pattern breakdown, he's got as good a chance as anybody.
Ciminelli, the lone southpaw, leaves the 7th.
I'm not sure Pete's as feared as he used to be, but he certainly is respected as he's ever been.
Yeah, especially when you start out with 279. You get a little respect when you do that.
Opening double for Rash.
The difference between staying with a shot and it gets through that little spot on the left and not.
Ciminelli with the spare, and he knows Rash very well, having competed against him in college, and he feels like they were viewed as 2 of a kind.
On the lanes, you really can mistake confidence for cockiness, and a lot of people just thought that we were just punks and that we thought the best of ourselves and didn't care what anyone else thought. And it really isn't the case with us. We're good people, and it just takes time to mold a personality and to become a man.
And there's someone with no shortage of confidence, Pete Weber, trying to double up here in match 2.
was voted number 4 on the PBA's 50 greatest bowlers all time in 2009. PD Dub, Ciminelli, but fearless today. He's up and down so fast.
He almost has the same kind of follow-through as the two-handers do, where the follow-through goes to the right.
Yep, that's a great point, Randy. He has a couple of different follow-throughs that he uses at different times, depending on how he shuts his shoulders down. If he does it late, it comes across his body. If it's on time, it comes up through it.
Rash with an opening 3-bagger. Weber trying to duplicate the feat. What does that look tell you guys?
I think that look tells you that he stole one there. Although I'm not really sure how bad it could have been because the ball ended up dead flush perfect.
Well, whether he got away with one there or not, Pete has probably already moved on. Seems he's always thinking about what's next on and off the lanes.
I think some guys are too mental. I think they think way too much. See, when I'm myself, when I'm off the approach, I'm thinking, well, let's see, next week we're going to be somewhere else. There's going to golf course there next week, you know. I don't think about bowling at all when I'm off the approach. Now, when it's my turn to bowl and I get up and I stand there and I look at the lane and I vision my shot before I get up and throw it. So when I get on the approach and put the ball in my hand, I don't really stand there and think a whole lot because I've already seen it. I know what it's done, and 32 years of experience, that kind of helps out a bit too.
Sounds like a healthy way to handle business. Some good advice for some of the young guys out here on the tour. Ciminelli trying to double up here in the 3rd.
Spare strike for Ciminelli. Rash and Weber have struck out here through 3. They're on top. Ciminelli trailing by only 10. Top 2 move on. This was Weber's last effort. PD Dub thinks he might have stole one there. The Hall of Famer will take it. Great look.
World Championship is brought to you by Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance. PBA Hall of Famer Johnny Petraglia won the 1980 edition of what is known today as the PBA World Championship, a victory that made him only the 2nd Triple Crown winner in PBA history. But it's the 1994 edition of the championship where he ultimately finished 3rd that will always be known as his most memorable moment. In the semifinals against Walter A. Williams Jr., Petraglia became only the 7th player in history to roll a perfect game on television, earning himself $100,000 for the effort.
College is taken care of. I'm so happy. The kids can go to college. Everything's gravy from now on.
Isn't that wonderful? The kids can go to college. Mike Connor, commissioner of the PBA.
John, here's that $100,000 to help those college payments. Congratulations.
And there's one of the 2 kids that benefited from that 300 game, Johnny Petraglia Jr. Great guy, and I believe right next to him on his right is his new fiance. Congratulations, guys. But even if this division of the World Championship is named after Dad, guys, you still have to give the front row seat to the legend, Carmen Salvino. There's Carmen. Good looking section there.
Rob Stone, Randy Peterson, Chris Barnes, welcome you back to Las Vegas. Our continuing coverage of the PBA World Championship. Opening 4-bagger for Sean and some folks in the crowd.
You just called it a 4-bagger again.
It happens every once in a while. I have to appease the purists out there.
A little early.
Folks a little over ambitious with their cheering for Rash. Weber trying to drop a ham bone of his own.
Hey, Weber, there's no love for your boy over here? What happened?
We save it for the important moments. He knows. I got your shout out. I got your back, PD Dub.
Oh, no. Oh, one for me.
Hate it, love it. Another strike for Ciminelli.
Hit him thin and watch him spin is a term that I think the late, great Billy Whaley used to use.
Coming up next week, it's the Albee division of the PBA World Championship featuring the two-handed wonder from down under, Jason Belmonte. He'll be battling his good old buddy, Mike Fagan, as well as Josh Blanchard and Brian Kretzer for the last spot in the finals of the PBA World Championship. You can see it next week, 1 p.m. Eastern, with the finals coming in 2 weeks right here on ESPN.
Combined frames here in this match, guys. 12 strikes.
And the other one wasn't bad. Ciminelli's little flat 7-pin in the first frame is all we've had. These guys are making a mockery of the scorpion pattern.
Here's Weber, your number 8 overall seed here at the PBA World Championship. Rash is the number 1 overall seed. He keeps on going. There's Ciminelli looking for 4 in a row.
Just got a handful of that one.
That was the good one there. Does this one go just a little bit high? 3-pin right around the 6.
Should let him go to start with. Oh.
Chris, what do you see there from Rash as we watch Ciminelli take care of the spare?
I think that was that shot where he was going to get it in too quick, and he felt it going in too quick, and so instead of throwing the shot and throwing it by it for the 2-pin or the 210, he regroups.
Come on, Sean. 6 in a row.
How about this one? Watch the head pin as it goes to the cross and back.
Oh, yeah.
Bing.
Bang. Boom.
Boom.
And that was your fast, safe pain relief replay brought to you by the makers of Bear Advanced Aspirin. You need breaks, particularly when you're bowling and hunting for a major. And that was
Almost 260. Right now, we have 2 players that are perfect through 6, and Ciminelli, who can still shoot 269.
My New Year's resolution was to only broadcast high-scoring bowling games. Seeing it come through right now. What was your New Year's resolution, Randall?
I didn't want to set up myself for failure again, so I don't have one.
Rash. 7 straight.
All right, so where has this demeanor been? He's kind of taking his time. He's not overly pumped. He looks like he's kind of keeping his emotions in check for the most part.
Now he's being aided by a young man on the sideline as well, and that may be enough to keep Rash's focus in check. 7 in a row for P.D. Dom. There's not a whole lot Ciminelli can do in this one. 4 strikes, 2 9 spares, and he's getting a run out of the building.
Yeah, we're through 7 frames, and right now it's already looking like Ciminelli's not going to advance. I mean, I'm not trying to write the kid off just yet, but
He's got 249 left.
yeah. And the other guys are already in the 250s.
Great shot there. Rob, I think you made an excellent point. Having Danny in the crowd, I can only speak for myself, but my family's there. It gives me a little perspective, and it adds a little bit of calmness to the overall.
There is Dan McCarty, 8, soon to be 9 years old, battling brittle bone disease. And before the show began, Sean and Dan rolled out the first ball together. They met earlier this week here at the World Series of Bowling, part of a Brunswick function, and the two hit it off immediately. And he's wearing a Sean Rash jersey right now. Here's Pete Weber. Rash and Weber, perfect through 8.
Hey, listen, not to jinx anybody.
Ciminelli with the strike.
I think the worst thing that could happen to Weber is if he shot 300. Because emotionally, I don't think he would be able to put it back together for the final match.
What about Rash?
I think he'd have a little bit better go. Honestly, I mean, I've seen guys do it before. They bowl 300, and then they have a little bit of a letdown. They're coming down off of this big, huge high. Hard to kind of
properly channel the emotions.
Grab the rein, pull the reins back,
yeah.
you know, and
agree. Looking for 9 in a row. He's got it. He'll go to the 10th. Hunting perfection. Will Weber join him?
it is official. This is a strike fest.
Same pattern as last week?
Yep. Different faces, though.
Come on, 10-pin. Wow. What a run from Weber.
I think that might be an excellent point. I think that might be the best thing that can happen to Pete here. Let Rash make a run at 300 here, and he gets a frame to settle down and focus on what's next.
I thought I made that perfectly clear. This is the best thing that could happen, this ringing 10 to Weber right here.
Seltzer plus ball.
I'm not sure Pete would agree, though.
But I like the fact that you threw in Rash bowling 300. Because that kind of puts a little twist on, you know, where I was going with it. And it just adds to, I think it just kind of swings everything more in favor of Weber if that were to happen.
Ciminelli cleaning that one off in the 9th. All eyes focus on the man in yellow and black, the Wichita State Shocker colors. Sean Rash entering the 10th, 3 strikes away from perfection. Well, we can get the 300 game out of our heads and move on to the final match here at the Petraglia division.
Weber was perfect through 8. Rash perfect through 9. Those two will meet to see who advances to the January 15th PBA World Championship Final when we return to Vegas.
For the first major of the year, the PBA World Championship. will be selected. Who will it be? Belmonte, Kretzer, Josh Blanchard from Wichita State, or Mike Fagan? One of those four will move on. Pete Weber and Sean Rash have moved on to our final match of the day. And look at those gaudy numbers, 278, 268. Huge match, too, from those two. And Randy standing by with Rash and Weber.
Thanks, Rob. Sean, when you had the front eight and Pete had the front eight that last game, what went through your mind?
Well, after the first game there, we were all throwing a lot of strikes, and you just got to get off to a great start. And, I'm just focusing on one shot at a time and trying to make the best possible shot possible. And, it was a great game for both of us. Now we're moving on and we'll see what happens.
Did 2 300 games ever cross your mind?
At one point, when we both had the front eight and Ryan missed in the 8th frame, it kind of, I thought, basically made both of our arm swings a little looser there in the 9th. Unfortunately, Pete rung 10 in the 9th, and I threw it awful in the 10th. But, maybe we can both do it this game.
Good luck on the final match. Thanks, Sean. Pete Weber, age 49, averaging 274 point whatever for the first 2 games. What has gotten into you?
Well, last year I kind of went 0 for 6 out here, and I had a little something to prove this year, and I've gone 8 for 8 this year. And arm swing's pretty loose, confidence is high. He's got his hands full.
What can we expect in the final match?
I think you can expect a lot more strikes because, it didn't look like we were slowing down any, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be a high-scoring match. And 250, 250 maybe, 270, 250, but it's better shoot a number to win.
Thanks, Pete. Good luck.
Rash and Weber combined for 19 strikes in match number 2. They're set to tee it up with a berth into the PBA World Championship on the line. Rash, Weber on the backside.
Overall seed at this year's PBA World Championship. One of the most talented players on the tour. Yet Sean Rash hasn't won a title in more than 4 years, and some major gaffes have cost him dearly. Now he faces a personal idol in PBA Tour legend Pete Weber. Will Rash be able to keep it together? It's a classic youth versus experience showdown to determine who moves on to the finals of the PBA World Championship.
Welcome back inside the South Point Casino and Exhibition Hall. The Johnny Petraglia division about to be decided. And here are today's keys to victory, brought to you by the makers of Alka-Seltzer Plus Liquid Gels. And Chris, for Sean Rash, tempo, tempo, tempo.
Highly excitable guy. If it gets going fast, he's going to throw it by it for the 2-pin.
And, of course, I came up with the keys for Weber. Don't change a thing.
Why not? It's been working, right? A 279 and a 268 for that man, Pete Weber. First split we've seen of the day, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly from Weber.
But the approach just gets sticky all of a sudden.
Well, he sticks and misses it at the bottom, gets it going right with a little bit of speed, and it's a 210. Yeah, you're right, Rob. First split of the day.
If you're going to have an open frame, that's the one to do it in.
Yeah, not a bad place to do it.
Four career tour titles for Sean Rash. Messenger.
Last title was a major. Rob, you and I covered it in Milwaukee. Miller Park, USBC Masters.
October 28, 2007. I remember it very well.
Yeah, baby, yeah! Come on! Yeah, baby, yeah!
Rash celebrating with friends as well as his dad, Gene, and his future wife, Sarah. After that performance, guys, it's almost hard to imagine that he wouldn't win another title for at least 4 years. Take a look now at Sean's arsenal. He's currently throwing the strongest ball he has. That's the Nexus Solid. A 9.8 hook rating on a scale of 10. 2 in a row to open up.
Oh, yeah. Dan likes it.
Stay slow. Slow down.
You can hear it right there. That one was borderline. He got it in pretty quick. He saved it by really planting that left foot in the ground and got it back to shake the 5 down.
So Rash setting the tone early with an opening double. Weber, an open frame 9 in the first. Through the nose. Gets the 10 to drop late, but leaves the 3-6.
Weber looks like he's lost rhythm. He looks like he's out of sorts. He's lost rhythm. We didn't see him throw 2 shots anything close to resembling the last 2. He got around that early. Looks like he probably got the ball into the swing a little quick. He gets it to the bottom quick, and he barely makes the spare. He's got to somehow find a way to control this nervous energy here in this final match. Pete's using an Anarchy. Very strong piece of equipment, as you can see by the hook rating.
Still without a strike. First time Rash and Weber have ever met face-to-face, mano-a-mano. John, a young man who has immense respect for what Weber has done through his career. Also thinks very highly of the relationship Pete had with his late father, and Sean, very close to his dad. Gene, who's here in attendance and watching next to Sean's new wife, Sarah. You see Gene right there in the yellow, blue, and white. Those two, great relationship. And boy, just to be able to have your dad with you here to watch you excel at this level, just must be awesome.
Well, we saw some great scoring in the first 2 games, but obviously now the lane conditions, the old pattern is transitioning. The players are going to have to make big adjustments. Could be possible equipment changes in the near future, but things are going to have to change.
Absolutely, Ray. I think both these guys are going to make a pretty good jump to the left now. They beat up that spot. They repeated very well, and now it's gone. Now we got to get inside.
You go back to the last match and the scorecard. You know, we saw everybody, you know, Rash and Weber strike through the 8th, and Rash had one in the 9th, but there were a couple kind of shaky strikes there on the tail end, and then maybe a little sign of trouble to come here in the 9th and the 10th, and boy, things have really changed on the lanes. It was an absolute strike fest, and now these guys are getting some ugly strikes, if they're lucky.
Kind of like that one, huh, buddy?
You know what, though? If you're Pete Weber, this is not a bad thing to see. Obviously, nobody likes to see an opponent throw a Brooklyn strike, but the last 2 shots through the nose crossing over, when you see your opponent doing that, that's sending you a signal saying, hey, this guy's not exactly lined up.
Join the PBA Facebook fan page and get and share some PBA news and photos of PBA stars. Click on the Facebook link on PBA.com right now to join.
Here's the first adjustment. Here's a ball change right here coming at you. Rob Stone.
Weber seeking his first strike here. We're in the 4th. That did not work.
What happened? Holy cow.
A lot more breakdown, a lot more transition than the players anticipated, Chris Barnes.
Well, the one thing about going to a higher RG ball, the last time he threw this was probably in practice when the lanes were much tighter. Now when there's friction on the lane, higher RG balls, higher response. They hook even more off the friction. He got fooled.
Stayed with it, able to clean it up. So Pete Weber, open frame 9 in the first, 8 spare, 9 spare, 6 spare, down 24. Mocking celebration there from Pete. Finally gets that strike in the 5th. Weber's won this title twice in '89 and '98, both times in Toledo. For Sean Rash, his best world championship finish 3rd, and that came in 2010. Fourth strike in 5 frames for Rash.
That's taking advantage of that Brooklyn in the 3rd, or excuse me, the Brooklyn in the 4th.
Lead bumps to 34.
The key for Sean now is to stay focused on his keys and what he's trying to accomplish and not look at the score and the end result.
It's a great point.
These two guys know how to bring energy to the lanes, and Rash is just feeding off of it right now. 3 in a row. Look at the start Weber had and where he has gone this match. Back-to-back jacks for Weber, and his only hope really right now, guys, has to be that Rash will somehow come unglued, and we've seen it before from this young man.
We flash back to the 2009 World Series of Bowling. Big stage, air ball right down the middle. Single pin whiff. Yeah, delivered there in the clutch as well. Not a fun time at times for Sean Rash on the lanes. He put so much in, invested such a high level to get to these points, only to kind of crack when the TV lights came on. This is last season's PBA World Championship versus Chris Barnes in the semis. At a critical juncture, left that, but he's learning to deal with these breakdowns.
You know, mentally, you can't control what you've done in the past. You know, you big 4 or you miss a single pin, which we're told we're not supposed to, but it happens. And you got to think about the positives that are going on and move forward. And the other thing that I used to do a lot of was I thought I could control others and worry about the scores and make that thing, make that happen, and it's just something you can't do. You can only control yourself and, make the best shot possible every time.
He's been making good shots here in match number 3 versus Pete Weber. You see Pete picking up that ball. Remember that big ball change in the 4th for PD Dub. Things have improved slightly since then, and here is Weber. Top of the 7th. Down 30 and change.
Weber made that ball change in the 4th.
Keep him honest.
It was off to a questionable start, led to a 6 spare. Since then, though, 3 straight strikes.
Which Sean Rash is going to respond? That's the question.
It was interesting hearing Weber after that strike, essentially a clandestine, if you will, shout out to Rash, saying, hey,
you in the lane.
That's here to make you show up, young man.
You in the lane.
These two guys know how to play the game off the lane as well. Pete, maybe one of the best ever.
without question.
Doesn't phase Rash. That's a dialed-in young man.
When Sean's got a lot of pressure built up on him. He won his first 4 shows. He's gone now nearly 4 years without a title. This wouldn't be a title, but it would be a victory in some sorts, and in a lot of ways by beating one of your idols on TV could go a long ways.
Hasn't won since that USBC Masters in Milwaukee in '07. Made 2 TV appearances last season.
Good shot.
Ball drifts just a pinch high, leaving the 4-pin. And if you're Pete Weber, it's exactly what you want to see. Your opponent slowing down just a bit. 2 more strikes, Weber will be in the 220s. Sean Rash is in the 230s.
And it's interesting to note, most of the players think the left lane is tighter down lane and haven't liked that lane quite as well. The ones that hook it more. Sean thinks the right lane's tighter down lane and has chosen to finish on the left lane intentionally in all 3 games today.
Randy, during your interview, it was interesting how Pete, talking about the motivation from the lack of success last season that he had, made just 1 TV appearance. His earnings 2nd lowest in his career last season. He's out to prove something this year. The old man still has some fight left in him.
Yeah, it's not time to change the dial or to turn the dial yet. Big shot coming up here in the 9th frame. He goes with the ball change, as you mentioned, Rob, and so far it's the exception of the 1 shot in the 4th frame. It's worked perfectly. Started with anarchy. He's now throwing frantic.
We may have a frantic finish here as Weber looks for 5 in a row as we begin the 9th.
Yeah, baby. Come on, you got to keep him honest. Got to keep him honest.
Chris, I really see what you're saying on that right lane or the left lane being tighter down lane. You could really see it there. Much less down lane reaction on that shot than the previous shot on the right lane for Weber.
Players see a little more friction in the front, and it bails in the back.
Sean with an immediate response in the 9th.
Re-rack, please.
He was at a very critical juncture of this match. Coming off that 9 spare, Weber with all that momentum with 5 straight, and you know, some of the naysayers out there could have said, oh, here's where we go. Here's where Sean is going to fold. Here's where he's going to collapse. And he steps up and drops a big one in the 9th.
And with a first strike in the 10th and 8 spares, Sean Rash will lock this up, and he will become another finalist.
Come on, Sean. There's the strike. What a match for Dan McCarty to show up at.
Chris Barnes said it best. He said the keys for Sean Rash were tempo. He got fast here.
Slow your body
You can
down.
see how slick it is down lane on that left lane. And just the biggest break of the day.
He's still talking to himself. Slow yourself down. Slow yourself down.
This isn't over yet. Sean's misses have not been 4 pins.
Yeah, big split here. Weber could still punch out and win it. 9 on the first ball, he wins.
There's your 9.
That's it.
You're a badass, but I want to have your position one day.
I know, but come on, man. Hit the pocket when you need it. Hit the pocket when you need it.
What do you say to that, Chris?
I think it all evens out over time. But it doesn't feel like it when you're on the other side of that one.
Rash moves on. He wins the Johnny Petraglia division. 246, enough to drop Pete Weber. It was his low score of the day. Didn't matter in match number 3. We'll hear from Rash when we return to Vegas.
Great bowling. Good luck. Good luck later on. There you go.
Maybe a little bit of the changing of the guard here today. Rash and Weber embrace, and 3 down, 1 to go. Who will win the Mike Albee division? Find out with us next Sunday. Time now for our Geico Championship recap. Match number 1. What a strike fest it was. Nathan Bohr, an incredible 236 performance. Wasn't enough. And he was eliminated. Ryan Ciminelli, the southpaw from outside of Buffalo. Great performance, 219. Not enough because Weber and Rash were lights out. Match 3, Rash, a double to start it. And then a ham bone, 4 through 7. And that nice break. And he moves on, 246 over 222. Randy standing by with Sean and a very special guest.
Sean, congratulations. You got a really nice break there in the 10th frame. Describe what it feels like to be moving on to the finals.
Well, I led this tournament by a couple hundred pins, and I felt like I should be bowling for the title to start with. And I met my buddy Dan here a couple weeks ago before we started, and he's been an inspiration all day long. And I'm looking forward to the final match, and my buddy and I, we're going to bring home a title today.
What was it like taking down the likes of a Pete Weber?
Well, Pete and I go way back. Since I started on tour, he's been a great role model. You know, the people call him a badass, and you know, he always says I'm going to take over his spot. And you know, we're fierce competitors on the lanes. We're great friends off the lanes, just like we are with our fans. But to take down a Hall of Famer like that, wow, what a great position to be in.
Dan, what did you think?
I think Sean did really well, and took him down really well, and I think it was really good for him to take down the Hall of Famer, and I think he tried his best and did everything that he could.
Well said, Dan. Congratulations, guys.
How about the instant analysis from Dan McCarty? Weber, not enough. Rash moves on. Who will join him? Belmo, Kretzer, Blanchard, Fagan. Find out next Sunday, 1 Eastern, right here on ESPN. Sean Rash, your #1 overall seed, moves on to the final round of the PBA World Championship. For Randy and Chris, I'm Rob Stone. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.